Hello, everyone. My name is Madeleine, and although we advertised that today the host will be my colleague Sandra Haugas, unfortunately Sandra is absent due to an illness, so I will be spending the hour here with you. And as you know, we are today focusing on a topic that is, I think, quite often not very much talked about, but what is actually very, very important, especially when we think that we want to have higher education where there is diversity, equity, and inclusiveness. So we're talking about students with impairments and their experiences in higher education. And for doing that, I'm very happy to have here Jakob Rosin. Hello, Jakob.
Hello. How's everybody doing?
Yes, Jakob is a remarkable person in that sense that he is very, very active in everything. Jakob is an Estonian radio journalist. Also, we can say that he is an accessibility enthusiast and expert. He is the leader of Estonian Blind Union, and last but not least, he graduated from Tallinn University some years ago, which means that actually he has quite fresh experience from higher education as a student with impairments. So I think that we will have very fruitful discussion today. How we are continuing. First of all, I would like to present very shortly one publication that me and my colleagues wrote in summer, also focusing on students with impairments. And after that, we can already move on to the conversation with Jakob, which is definitely the main focus today at the webinar. But first, about the presentation, I will share the screen. And I think that it should work. Can everybody see my screen and the slides? And please, someone say hello, because otherwise I can't.
Yes, yes. Thank you.
Very
yes.
Good. Okay, as you can see from the slides, the publication that we are calling actually an intelligence brief in EUROSTUDENT project, a short publication focusing on a narrow topic. We focused on students with impairments and their dropout intentions and satisfaction with support services. And I won't talk about this long because we have still some time frames here. But as you can see, I have a link here. The slides will be later shared on EUROSTUDENT webpage as well. And actually, you can find the publication from EUROSTUDENT webpage and read more thoroughly yourself. But very shortly, to give some background information, I think that it's important to keep in mind that there are, sorry, I'm messing up with my slides. Anyway, there is 15% of students across EUROSTUDENT 7 countries who report having an impairment that is at least somewhat limiting in their studies. So it's actually quite significant share of the whole student body. And what we wanted to know when we were writing our intelligence brief was that we wanted to answer the question, how successful have European higher education systems been in accomplishing the EU goal of substantially integrating students with disabilities to higher education. And of course, we did a literature overview. We looked at previous research, but when we're talking about our analysis, then first we compared the dropout intentions of students with impairments to students without impairments. And as you can see from the graph as well, students with impairments are more likely to considering dropping out of higher education than students without impairments. And of course, there are countries where there are almost no difference between those dropout intentions, for example, in Netherlands and Luxembourg. But at the same time, there are countries like Slovenia where the dropout intentions among students with impairments are almost threefold as high as among students without impairments. So actually, countries are very diverse when we are looking at this data. And what we did secondly is that we wanted to investigate the relationship between the students with impairments dropout intentions and their satisfaction with support to overcome limitations in their studies. And after doing that, 4 different groups or types of countries were outlined. As you can see, first of all, here are countries where students are satisfied with the support that is offered, and at the same time, they are not very likely to consider abandoning their studies. For example, Netherlands and Ireland are this kind of countries, which probably means that there is this good organization of support services, and it actually helps to overcome the limitations. But of course, there are also countries like Malta and Georgia, where students are satisfied with the support, but at the same time, they are very likely to consider dropping out of higher education. So there have to be some other explanations and factors behind their plans of abandoning their studies. And thirdly, there are, not surprisingly, countries where students are not satisfied with the support, and at the same time, they are really thinking about leaving higher education, which means that probably they are limited in their studies and that they can't get adequate support. And last but not least, there is an interesting group of countries like Estonia or Austria, where students are not satisfied with the support offered, but at the same time, they are not considering dropping out. So there have to be also something else explaining why they are staying and what keeps them in the higher education system. There have to be something that, some other protective factors that helps them in that sense. And I won't keep talking about this too much longer, but what we did, we chose 4 different countries, 1 from each group: Estonia, Georgia, Netherlands, and Lithuania, and we conducted short case studies and tried to explain the country's context, and you can read about it all from the intelligence brief. But to conclude very, very shortly, I would say that there are very diverse patterns across countries and explanations why one country is like it is. These explanations are very country specific and related to various factors. For example, we can talk about policy legacy, we can talk about current developments in policy making in this field, we can talk about societal norms and culture and so on, and they are all affecting these patterns in those countries. And what we also concluded is that definitely when we're talking about what higher education institutions are doing and what could be done in terms of policy making, then it's very important that we are not focusing only on material and physical aspects like monetary benefits and adapting buildings to help students overcome, for example, their physical limitations. But at the same time, it is very important that we are also facilitating social integration of students with impairments. And under this, we are talking about counseling, mentoring, creating learning communities, and providing all these different places to come together and really feel that you are included. The atmosphere is inclusive, and you are as equal as other students in your course or like around you. But yeah, as I said, you can read more when you are accessing the EUROSTUDENT webpage and looking for this intelligence brief. So I think that this will be enough from the side of the intelligence brief. And I can see that there are already some questions in the chat. First of all, what is the N for all these countries? Every percentage is useless if you don't know N. I'm also recommending looking at the intelligence brief from the web. As I said, I actually hopped on the train in that sense that I'm hosting and introducing the intelligence brief here today. Actually this morning, because my colleague fell ill, so I'm sorry that maybe I can't answer all the detailed questions, but I really recommend looking at the IB itself. And there is also a comment that in Austria we have different types of support for students with disabilities. Yes, it's very good to hear, and I hope that all you are here, and when we are talking with Jakob with different about different ways of supporting students and different experiences, then you're all absolutely welcome to join in and also share your experiences and the ways how your countries are dealing with this issue in your higher education system. And yes, someone asked for the link, and I can see that another participant already shared it. So I'm very thankful that someone did this favor for me. Thank you, Andrea. But yes, anyways, I think that we can move on to the conversation with Jakob then. And if you from the audience have any questions or comments, then you're absolutely free to post them in the chat, or definitely you can join in with your video and audio as well. And I think we can start, and then just let us know when you want to comment or ask something. So Jakob, hello once again.
Hello.
I already introduced you and said that you have studied in Tallinn University and that you're accessibility expert and enthusiast, and also working in the fields of advocacy, in that sense that you are the leader of Estonian Blind Union. But when we are first focusing on your experiences in higher education as a student with impairments, then what would you say? How was the experience of being a student? What were the success stories, or what was well, and where were the obstacles or problems that you had to overcome?
Yeah, that's a really good question. It's from my experience and from a lot of other students' experience in Estonia and in a lot of other countries, but I'm right now concentrating on my experience. It was mostly finding my own path in a total darkness. And I don't mean it literally because I'm blind, but I mean it because very little information was available on what I can do, how can I do it, what's accessible for me and what not. So I had to literally kind of find the answers all myself for most of the things. Just, for example, to give you, I went to get some career advice before I joined the university. And I took the kind of official route because I wanted to find out what's going on. So I took the route everybody else, my classmates, took. I actually went to also a regular high school, so my classmates were sighted. And I went to the career advisor and into their office, and they said, "Hey, here I am. My concern is I kind of know what I want to do. I want to do something related to audio. I want to do something related to journalism, maybe media, stuff like that. But my question is that I'm blind. So what can I do?" And the only thing they were able to tell me was that, well, we have the phone number for the Disability Council in the Tallinn University, which is the university in my hometown. And that was basically it. And obviously that was a thing I had already Googled, but I was hoping they had a broader experience. They didn't. So then I did two things. I attended Tallinn University. I applied there. I took my precautions. So I contacted them earlier, explained that I am planning to join. I'm blind. I want to do journalism. Let's discuss. Can we do this? We had a little meeting with the officials from the university, and we figured it out. And I was able to, write the entry exams and everything with some things. And that was all because I joined. Oh, I'm sorry. I asked them first. Sorry about that. My screen reader, which I use with a computer, which reads me the screen, decided to read the chat messages to me, and that disturbed me. Anyway, that's fine. You can continue asking questions. Anyway, so I had to figure that out on myself, consult with the university. And the second thing I did during that time, I tried the the expected route of people. I attended another or tried to apply to another university for musicians. I was going to apply for audio engineering, and I didn't get in. Everybody, the whole situation during the exams, I felt everybody was very uncomfortable. But me, I had fun because I wanted to see what's happening, and everybody was really uncomfortable. They didn't know what to do with me because I'm blind, and oh my god. So what I want to gather or sum up with is that I kind of had to find the answers on my own. There is no streamlined experience when joining a university. There is no if you are disabled, or if you are blind, or if you have any kind of impairment or special needs, then do this, and then you kind of get a checklist or people to talk to or whatever to do, and you're done. You kind of have to feel that I'm a special case, which isn't perfect and nice, because nobody wants to feel as a special case if they don't want to feel a special case, some people do. But so I think that's the first issue there, that often during the higher education, I feel that I'm being made a favor by the university, by the staff, by whoever, because I need more help. And that's the trouble with the bigger picture, that we don't have the system in place how we can provide higher education for people with disabilities. But since you asked about success stories as well, I got the support when I asked for it. So when I knew where to look at, where to ask from, and kind of what to do, and when I figured it out myself, everybody was very cooperative. So I didn't luckily get any kind of refusals from the university. I was able to take all my course exams within an accessible manner, at least to some extent. I was able to maybe record some lectures. Others weren't able to after explaining those things. I was bunch of things I asked for. But this is the thing I had to ask them for, and this is me. I may be a person who has the courage or time or whatever to figure those things out and go and step into the door and say, hey, let's do it a little different, or I need it different. But not all people can do that. And I think that's a big issue, that if you are not proactive yourself, if you would want to concentrate just on your education, then that's a big problem right there, where you need to be very proactive. Nobody's going to offer you anything, really. You got to figure it out yourself, and that's, I think, a biggest issue in the system at the moment.
Yes, definitely. Thank you very much for the answer. There is already one question or comment in the chat that we need to talk about the definition of disability that is not standardized throughout Europe and influences biases all studies significantly. This is actually something that we kind of touched with Jakob also when we were preparing for the webinar as well. Not maybe definitely the definition of disability, but in general, all the discussion and how we are mentioning and using these terms when talking about this topic. For example, I have heard that some people don't like the term students with impairments, while others don't like the term of students with disabilities or disabled students. So I think it's actually very big, and even maybe a separate big topic to talk about. But what are your feelings around it, Jakob?
Yeah, I do agree that the term of disability has kind of gotten fuzzy, and everybody figures it differently. I think I cannot give you a definition here, and I won't be. But what I think we need to get from here is everybody has their own special needs. I see it in so many different fields. There is no average person who we design things for. We cannot design the curricula and then the courses for average students, because there's no average student. Some students are better at reading. Some students are better at listening. Some students can see better. Some can hear better. Some speak some languages better, whatever. Some people can attend, face-to-face meetings. Some prefer remotely. There are so many exceptions. And I think what we need to evolve this all into, not only in the education or higher education, but everywhere, is we need to be more flexible in general, which again attempts or which in turn opens up more possibilities for people to do things. For example, I had a lecturer who demanded that my way of doing exams was, I asked them, could I do them on my computer? So I come into the lecture hall during the exam. You give me the file either on a thumb drive or send me that. I'll fill it in, send it back to you immediately, so you can see me doing that. Most were fine, one wasn't, and they demanded that I would do an oral exam, which is 3 times harder, because you are under pressure. They ask you a question, they do an interview, you kind of feel you have to immediately answer, you don't have time to think it over, whatever. But if we would by default assume that some people want to fill it in on the computer or do it remotely or whatever, I wouldn't need to do that. So I think that's the broader term with defining disability, that as a society, we need to design our services to be more flexible, to be tailored for more kinds of ways of using it, not just this one use case. And that applies for whatever products we make, or websites, or buildings, or courses, or meetings, or whatever. So I think that's the broader term. But yeah, when we talk about the disability as a word, coming back to that, I think the word disability or disabled is fine by me. I know there have been some discussions on should we say differently abled or whatever. I figure that I'm not differently abled. I am disabled because my vision is disabled. It's not working. It's not existing. So I haven't gotten any special abilities which would be different from vision in this sense. But I think disability should be more precisely defined. And I agree with this comment that we need to figure out what it is actually, and at the same time we can't define it too closely, because then we will be excluding probably some people who are disabled in some sense, but who wouldn't fit under the definition. So who are they? So yeah, it's it's a complicated thingy, and I think it's a broader topic.
Yes, definitely. And in the frameworks of EUROSTUDENT, there are also like students divided in that sense that either their disability or impairment is visible to others or not. So it's, I think, also affecting, because there can be impairments, for example, some chronic diseases, or let's say mental health issues that are also considered to be an impairment, but maybe this is not visible to others, and it's sometimes maybe more difficult to understand those difficulties that those people have, although they definitely have them, but it doesn't seem maybe to others that they are somehow different at first point.
Indeed.
But yeah, what I wanted to ask in addition is that you graduated in 2017.
Yes.
And so it's some years ago. But definitely you are also the board member of Estonian Council for Disabled People. So you actually know the area in general as well. And so have you heard about other students' experiences, and has something changed in the system when you think back to your studying period and when you have heard something from others now? Is something got better?
Not too much, I am afraid. Yeah, obviously some some things have become a little better. For example, some universities have broadened the scope of the services they offer for disabled people. For example, Tallinn University is very successful in now providing digital materials instead of books. So if you need a book from the library, they are able to give you the digital e-copy of that. That's a very helpful thing, because back when I was in the university, we had a book to read. I ended up, paying for it with my own money and getting it, the Kindle book from Amazon, which doesn't really work out when Estonia advertises about free education. Then if it's free, why do I have to pay for it anyway? So yeah, not in this sense, but and as I said in the beginning, those issues that what we have here, which are accessibility issues in the buildings, at the physical space, accessibility issues at the education level, where maybe lecturers are not very aware of the needs of different disabilities or people with disabilities. Insufficient funding. Maybe one good example is you might be a person with hearing impairment, and you might need a sign language translator with you. You would have to pay for it from your own pockets to some extent, etc. All those things create huge barriers, and some of them can be kind of jumped over, but you will need to. Nobody will help you jump over it. Those are the examples I gave earlier, that you kind of need to ask for those by yourself, and that's not very good, because you as a student, you want to concentrate on your studies, and universities are not only about studying. It's also a bunch of social life and social interactions going on. But if I, after the lectures, have to go home and start preparing for my, next week's lectures, and finding out if I can get all the materials and talk to the lecturers and whatever, then I will be not able to attend all the social gatherings. So kind of I'm running a separate job to support my own studying, but at the side of studying, but the job isn't paid. It's not a job. So that makes it a big, very difficult. And that's a problem everybody I've talked to in Estonia faces, and we could create some, some benefits or some things to make it easier for people. We could provide services, we could provide assistance, we could provide better scholarships for students with disabilities to help them figure those things out. But unfortunately, right now it's quite a big of a maze to master when you try to tackle that, and a lot of people get discouraged by that.
Yes, definitely. There are already some questions in chat as well. And Helga is asking, is Tallinn University attractive for international students with impairment? What would you say?
So there's an international part of international students with disabilities or impairments. There's a peculiar issue. So you can have, like, the government and the local government will provide a bunch of services. For example, transport services for the impaired, personal assistance service, other things. What happens, though, is that when you are an international student, you are not able to get those services before you have also applied for a disability in Estonia, which means that when you get here, you need to start filling in paperwork, which takes a couple of weeks or a month or more. And depending on how long you stay in here, you might, and then you get your disability paperwork done, and now you need to start applying for a service. Also takes a few weeks. So basically, that's another illustration for the things I talked about. It's like managing so many things which take so much time to figure it out. So in general, I would say Estonia isn't a very attractive at the moment for students with impairments. However, Tallinn University in general, I feel, is very attractive. They're very supportive. Their staff has been trained more and more. They have a new disability assistance officer there. Well, not new, actually. Now a few years she's been there, but she's very competent. And in those terms, yes, Tallinn University in general is very welcoming. It's quite accessible. As my example is that when you are proactive, you will be able to figure things out. A couple of more disabled students have studied there in recent years. So in those terms, yes, the university is great. The country in general has some additional barriers.
Yes, definitely. And we have talked about it with you, Jakob, previously as well, that in Estonia, the problem or the obstacle is that you have opportunities to get support, but actually you have to know where to look. And usually all these services and support is accessible from different places, in that sense that you can get something from the general government, you can get something from local government, then you can get maybe scholarships or something specially from the higher education institution. So you really have to know where to look at, and actually the better way for doing or organizing it would be that you have like this so-called one-door shop, that you're entering to the system from one point, and then you have all the variety of services that you could probably get if you want. But here is the case that you have to know what is available at all, and you have to know where to go to apply for it. So,
exactly. Yeah. There are. It's very confusing also because Estonia, as we discovered very recently, most of the information on how to apply to things isn't in English. So so try to figure that out.
Yeah, definitely. I can also say that there is very active use of chat besides our discussion. And for example, Frederick asked, how can we reach and enable students with disabilities who did not attend inclusive schools like you did, but who have the skills and would like to attend university. And there are also already some answers that the most effective solutions result when the program or the department head, the instructor, student, and disability services cooperate. There is also one idea that already at school by activities like summer camps or peer activities and bringing them in touch with higher education as it is done with mainstream students.
Well, another thing to reach those students, it's a very multi-level thing. So we need to figure out in this scenario what's our square one. So if we have a student who is generally interested in attending university, then I actually don't see universities advertising. Universities do a lot of marketing to promote their courses for students, but they don't tailor the marketing for students with impairments. And I think that's a mistake. They don't introduce. There are special, different ways to do that, but they are not used, which means that many students, one might not be aware of what are the possibilities. Two, they might be a little discouraged to, look around and ask around for themselves. And three, they might have some, basic questions which you could answer in your materials. Now, I think I'm not gonna go into the topic of what to do to increase the people with impairments in higher education in general. That goes down to how those people, young people, are raised, which also need to be inclusive to the society. But that's a whole different topic, which is a bigger topic. But I think talking to the schools where people attend to, providing materials, information, intros, and through this we can reach those people. And the basis of it, that would be that those people feel that they are included in the society. Because if they don't, they won't even want to attend university because they don't see the need. They have their own, the whole life they have studied within the community of their own disability. They don't feel really the need to go out. They are comfortable where they are, so they even won't attend the university. I think that's what we should change, or try to change on that level. At least give them the options.
And when they are already at the university, there are also some comments that, first of all, those students should know themselves what they need, and they also have to communicate their needs to the university, for example, through disability officer, if there is such a person, so that universities could know how and when take the action. And it's also here that they need to be experts with their assistive technology.
Obviously, some skills are required. The comment about assistive technology is really good. You need to know your way of using things. Unless the university obviously has a part where they are able to teach you how to use the computer with a screen reader, which I really doubt at the moment for main universities. Some might have that, but not all of them, definitely. So I would need to be able to use my own tools as good as I can, as best as I can, to my own advantage. And that's a good point. And yes, I think it's very hard to navigate around the fact that we need to tell the university about our disability and what are our needs. But I think the universities also need to get better in suggesting things I might need, because again, I might not be aware of all the possibilities out there. I might not be, I might write off a lot of things immediately, like, well, I think I can't do this, so I'm not gonna pay attention to this anymore. So I think universities being aware of the disability or the disabled student or the student with an impairment also proactively could suggest things we could do differently, or what you could do to make your education path smoother in the university?
Yes, definitely. Maybe I will move on with a bit different angle in that sense that we also mentioned before that you have been dealing with this advocacy side as well, being the leader of the Estonian Blind Union and all this like informing people about this accessibility topics and so on. So what is your experience with trying to influence policy making on this topic, accessibility and diversity among students and maybe in general? Do you have any experiences, and what are they like? Have you succeeded in something especially?
Well, trying to influence the topic at the top level has been going on for years. I was involved already when I was in the university. I've been involved at my job right now, and it's a very slow turning ship. And unfortunately, we haven't been able to turn it much at the moment. I actually, I don't want to really point fingers, but this machine has very many gears. It has the government, or the Estonia, who funds some parts of the universities, who makes the rules, who makes the possibilities happen. Then there are the local governments who provide some additional services, and then there are the universities themselves, and figuring out basically who is responsible for what, or who should do or change some things is quite of a job. Because I've been at meetings where kind of they throw the ball, who would be students with impairments, from the government to the local governments, from the government to the universities to back. The government says universities need to figure it out themselves because the government has told them to provide great higher education to everybody. Students, universities say back that, well, yeah, we would be happy to, but we don't have enough funding. And the government says, well, you should have whatever. So it's a bit stupid, but trying to figure out the way to do it the best for the students. Trying to do for the students without creating, additional paperwork or fuss around your education, which is hard anyway, is pretty difficult. But we're knocking on the doors still. We're trying to not let them calm down or turn their attention to other things. So we're continuously having this topic on the table to discuss, and I really hope that something good will come out of this in quite soon, because as I said, you cannot manage, for example, a huge university with thousands of students with just one officer for disabilities, because that's definitely not enough. And there are a bunch of other examples like this, which, just are behind lack of funding. And obviously lack of funding is just one thing. The other thing is training people, training the staff, training the lecturers, training the students, even how to, get around the university, for example. So there are a bunch of things you need to change. And that's what we are trying to also announce to the government, that this really needs to be paid attention to.
Definitely. You already mentioned here this training the staff of higher education institutions and so on, but when we think about certain specific things that could be done to help those students overcome their limitations, so what are the things that you actually expect from policymakers, for example, or from higher education institution staff? but also from fellow students' side, maybe?
Well, from policymakers, I would expect that they would support more inclusive education within their planning, within their financial support. But so in general, that the system to make this all happen will be there. That we wouldn't be constrained by some barriers because literally we don't have enough sufficient money to do that. We would need to educate the staff of universities, for example, to be able to provide materials accessibly, so that I, as a blind student or somebody who's deaf or hard of hearing, will be able to access the information. I'm sorry, information they need to access. It's not that the university is aware of, is this course accessible? Can people do this? So I don't need to apply, go to the first lecture, figure out, oh my God, I can't do this, and then try to figure out how can I drop from this course in a sensible manner. And about fellow students, it's, I think, this as simple as notice maybe, but don't treat people who are with a disability any different, because we are not really that different. If you see somebody is in trouble, then offer help. But from, for example, blindness perspective, it's as simple as notifying me, for example, that, hey, do you want to hang out with us because we're sitting over there, and you'll be standing over here for like 10 minutes, and nobody's around. So do you want, because I might not see the group, for example, who's sitting across the corridor, whatever. Things like those are very, very simple things. But it makes me feel part of the group, part of the society even, and already kind of makes my day maybe.
Yes, there is actually very small steps that we can all take and what we can do just to be maybe also more informed and think about this topic as well, because when we are more aware of this and those people around us, then we could also probably know better how to involve them. But are there any questions from the listeners that you would like to ask as well? Because everyone is welcome to join in with comments and questions. Actually, yeah, there is one thing. Drawing on your personal experience, could you develop the point you already made? How should one think about institutional support when it comes to find a balance between providing support for students with other needs without labeling these students and making them feel different?
I think, well, first of all, I honestly, when I go to university, or when I go to my job at work somewhere or whatever, I really do not care who provides this service, like who pays for the personal assistance, or who pays for the transport and whatever. So what I want to have is that I want to have a very streamlined experience where I, as a student with impairment, am not, I want to get the services I need. And I think that when I've been made comfortable in getting those services, I won't be, I won't feel like I've been spaced out, because, for example, it's an example from a completely different field, but when you travel by air and you have a disability and you need assistance, It's as simple as ticking a box during a booking that I have a disability, you choose your disability, and everything else happens automatically. I go to the airport, I have a member of staff there who helps me to the airplane seat, basically, through the security, through a passport, whatever. That's a perfect example of I don't feel excluded. I don't feel I have to do anything specially. I have a special case, but it's, the service has been designed to include this. And I really wish that the universities will do the same. And in this case, I don't feel really special. I've had the same situation with the assistants in the airports when we have trouble with big groups. I have my assistant, we all are in the group, everything is happy. And then when we get to the plane, the assistant goes away. So basically, what I want to say is I don't want to have a huge issue or hassle with the within getting this those services. I hope I answered your question correctly.
Yeah, I think that it's also something that you mentioned before, that there should be these all these services, but on the other hand, you don't want to feel that you have to ask for a favor in that
Exactly.
sense. That
I want to feel that that thing I am doing is designed for me. I don't want to go specially up to somebody to ask for help. I want the help to be there for me to get, if you know what I mean. I think it's there. Talk about the hidden disabilities, where we kind of have a situation where you have a disability which is not being shown or visible very, prominently maybe. And other people might not be aware of this, which means that you kind of, because of your hidden disability, are left out. And what we can do here is, I think, as a society, could have a bigger discussion on the terms of disabilities at all. What I want to say is that as a society in general, or as people, we should not see disability as something different. And it's a very long way to go, because looking at what we do and where our conflicts are at the moment, I think it's a quite long way away. But in the end, I would love to see a situation where we do not really need to pay attention to, basically a disabled person would be as on the same level as a part of the society as everybody else, so they wouldn't be looked at something different or special. And what happens then, I think the biggest benefit there would be that for the people with hidden disabilities, that you wouldn't feel that discouraged to talk about your disabilities. You would, because you are you feel you are part of the society already. That's one side, and the other side will be that the other side will be that you, as a person with with no impairment or no disability, you could expect maybe those things, and thus be more inclusive towards those people. So if we come back to the example of the corridor situation in the university, where some people there's a group of people, and the person who's blind maybe, and their blindness isn't seen for whatever reason, isn't aware of this, I could maybe have more courage to go up and ask those people, like, hey, are you my course mates? They will say no or yes or whatever, and I wouldn't feel embarrassed about this. But as I said in the beginning, that's a very very long way away, and but I hope that we as a society are drifting towards those situations.
Yes,
and
thank
this
you
way of thinking.
Thank you very much, Jakob. I'm sorry for the mess. It was the first experience of Zoom trolls for me as well. I have muted everyone. I have removed many participants from here. The chat is quite crazy with weird comments. I'm sorry. I will report about it definitely. And sorry for the mess once again. But new experiences always teach us something. So, so I have to be positive about that as well. But is there anything we haven't asked or touched today as a topic, but you would like to emphasize as a last phrase or the last few thoughts maybe?
I think the basis of the whole inclusion is being aware. What I want to say is that you should be aware of disabilities and impairments, and the people who are around us, they are also part of the society. And what gives us the benefit of being aware? Well, then we ask questions. And when you ask questions, there's always somebody who answers. You might not need to know how to make your course or whatever accessible or how to include people, but the important thing is to want to do that, or to have the wish to be inclusive. And if you do that, then if you go around and ask or Google or talk to people, people with disabilities or people who work with those, they're always happy to answer. They're always happy to think with you and help you out with making things accessible. The only thing we need from you is to be aware and to ask yourself the question: can a person with a disability or an impairment do this? And from there, you have people who can help you with the technicalities or the facts or whatever, and figure this all out.
Yes, definitely. Thanks a lot for all these very, very good thoughts, and also definitely the whole fruitful discussion that we had. I'm a bit skeptical about unmuting people and giving access to the chat, because I really don't know what pops up from here. But the chat should be again open, and if someone wants to ask something, then they can. But I hope that I have like removed everyone who wanted to post something else here. Anyways, I'm very, very grateful, especially to you, Jakob, that you agreed to join us and you shared your experiences and your thoughts. And yes, Bettina also is saying in the chat that thank you, Jakob, and I can see your point. And many people are
welcome
saying their thankful words, and definitely, I think that you are a remarkable person in that sense, that you have been doing this all. But yeah, thanks a lot, and
if you can, if you want to stay in touch, I dropped my Twitter into the chat, so feel free to throw a follow or DM at me. I'm happy to answer your questions over there as well.
Yes, definitely, and also this webinar will be the recording will be uploaded once I have dealt with something we had there in between. But thanks to everyone for listening. Thanks once again to Jakob that you joined us. And also the last comment here, thank you for this very constructive discussion. I already found new ideas on how to improve our services at the JKU. So this is wonderful. I think this is what we wanted. And thanks everyone who is saying all the good words and compliments.
Thank you.
To us. So yeah. See you all at the next EUROSTUDENT Talks webinar that will be held on the 22nd of February. This is Tuesday this time, a special case a bit, but stay tuned through EUROSTUDENT Twitter and webpage, and hopefully see you next time as well. So thank you everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.